Welcome to the Better Eye Health podcast with Damon P. Miller II, MD. This particular podcast is an excerpt from the weekly conference calls. Dr. Miller focuses on different topics connected to the Better Eye Health program. The topic of this session is knowing how the three kinds of minerals affect you. Here is Dr. Miller.
We are going to be talking today, just for the bit of our didactic portion of the talk. I'm going to be talking about minerals. We've talked some about minerals before, but I'm addressing this because we have three different minerals now that we offer as options for the Better Eye Health, for the the Better Eye Health supplement protocol. And they're rather similar, but just because there's been a bit of confusion, I wanted to talk. And also, we've been talking, kind of the theme for the last few talks has been cognitive enhancement, or how to enhance the functioning of your brain and eyes and spinal cord. And minerals are definitely a part of that. The reason I say that minerals are a part of your brain function is we think of the brain and we think of the nervous system as an electrical system. But in reality, it's an electrochemical system. So you don't actually pass electrons down the nerves like you would electrons down a wire. There's a cascading series of chemical reactions that pass the electrical potential along. And the function of all of that depends upon mineral ions that are passed back and forth across membranes that change potentials. That's how the whole system works. And so if your minerals are off, your electrical system is off in your body. And we found that, for years we used colloidal minerals that did not include all of the trace minerals, but they were a good product, and that company quit making them. And in looking for a better one, we've now opted for minerals that are derived from vegetable matter, actually ancient vegetable matter called humus, which is mined. And these are probably things that were at one point swamps by the sides of lakes or peat bogs. And now they're quite ancient, millions of years old. The advantage to that source of minerals is that it's quite clean. So you don't have industrial chemicals, you don't have a whole lot of mercury, you don't have radioactive isotopes from above ground nuclear testing, and all the things that pollute the earth today aren't in these minerals. And also, another source sometimes used for mineral supplements is old seabed, the bottoms of old buried seas. And the concentration of heavy metals in the oceans and the seabeds just naturally is higher than in vegetable matter. Also, the minerals in vegetable matter tend to be much more soluble and bioavailable. In other words, your body uses it better. And so there are two main types of minerals that are derived from this same raw material. One is called humic minerals, and the humic minerals contain both things that are in solution or soluble, and also things that are very finely divided and that form colloidal suspensions. It's not a true solution, but it is in suspension. And the other form are called fulvic minerals, and the fulvic minerals are simply the soluble part, the part that goes into solution. So if, just to give you an example, not to make this complex, but if you dissolve a teaspoon of salt in water, that's actually a solution. The molecules of the sodium chloride of the salt mix with the molecules of the water in a kind of crystalline structure. And you can evaporate the water off and get the salt back out, but you can't filter it out. You could put it through the finest filter you want, and it's still going to be a solution with salt water coming out the other side of the filter. Whereas, as an example, if you took some dirt, put that in water in a jar and shook it up really well, and then strained out the larger pieces, you'd still have muddy-looking water. And the thing that would remain in the water would be the very finely divided stuff that was in that dirt that is so finely divided that it stays in solution. It doesn't just settle out. So that's a colloidal suspension, and that's what the humic minerals are. So the three types of minerals we sell are something called Vitality Boost, which is simply the humic minerals, which is actually a combination of fulvic and humic, because the fulvic minerals are still in there. That's the one. Then there are something called Energy Boost, which is simply the fulvic fraction, the fulvic minerals. Those are the ones in solution. And then there's kind of an in-between version, which is called Inner Vitality, which is a mix of the fulvic and the humic, or if you will, it's just you dilute the humic minerals with more of the fulvic. And so it's not quite as dense. None of them really have any taste. And none of them, they're dark, but they don't stain. If you do get it on your clothing or something, it easily washes out. One thing people had asked about is, does it stain your teeth? And it's interesting, it does not stain the enamel of your teeth, but if you have plaque on your teeth, it will stain that. And so if you need to be seeing the dentist to have your teeth cleaned, it will reveal the stuff that the dentist needs to take off, but it won't stain the teeth themselves. And the dose for all of these, the recommended dose for most people is just 1 ounce a day, which is a capsule. And you can take it in water or just straight, doesn't really matter. Minerals, especially minerals that are absorbable and in solution, tend to be very reactive, so you would want to take them away from foods because there might be things in the food, simple things like fats especially, that will react with soluble minerals, and they form compounds that aren't easily absorbed or digested. So just to make sure you get most of this stuff into your bloodstream, you'd want to take the minerals at least 20 minutes or so before you eat, and that gives you the biggest absorption of it. You don't want to have all this ending up just in your stool because it's bound up with other insoluble complexes. But if you do eat it with any food, there's no harm in that. It just may not absorb as much. The minerals, you cannot, if you have a deficit of minerals, which I will tell you most people do, we would attest all of you, you would probably be a little deficient in minerals simply because it's not present as much in the water and the food we eat. It's different for our great-great-great-grandparents, but for us, minerals are something that we often need to take as a supplement because there's not enough in our foods. But if you have a deficit of minerals, if you need minerals, and I'm saying you need minerals, if you need minerals, you can't fill the bucket again in just a few days. You have to be taking minerals of a decent quality, taking a decent dose, and you have to be doing that often for months and months, even years, to fully fill your tank again with minerals. So it's good to be pretty consistent with the minerals you take. If you're taking them, it doesn't matter. If you miss some days, that's okay, but be taking them on a regular basis for a long period of time. And just as a final note, we have you take these because you need your brain and your eyes to be functioning well. Minerals are some of the raw materials that are needed to rebuild things, not just to keep things working, but rebuild them. But if you have any other neurological problems, and so some of the things that minerals can help are simple things like if you get charley horses or muscle cramps at night, or when you've been sitting too long, if you tend to get stiffness and crampiness in your joints and muscles, that can often be a mineral deficiency. If you have problems with heart arrhythmias, if you have problems with constipation, if you have problems with anything else in your nervous system, it's possible that the minerals will, if they don't fix it completely, they'll help that problem a lot. So there's no neurological problem you can have that a deficiency of minerals won't make worse. So that's why we include the minerals in the basic protocol, and that's why we have these different ones. So the main reason we don't just have everybody take the most dense one, the Vitality Boost, is some people just don't like the appearance of it. They find they're a little squeamish about it. So we recommend the Vitality Boost for everyone. If you can't tolerate that at all, the Energy Boost is there. And the Inner Vitality is kind of an intermediate one that isn't quite as dense. One final note, the Energy Boost is what we recommend to remineralize your water if you are drinking tap water, or especially if you're using water that's been purified through distillation or through the reverse osmosis.
Tune in for more podcasts and other presentations. Go to www.bettereyehealth.com. There is hope for sight.